University of Louisville football team's first full-scale scrimmage in the books, but Coach Jeff Brohm came away from it saying he was looking for new playmakers, and particularly said the new guys need to step up. Is this a real concern or typical early practice motivation?
I think it's more real concern than early practice motivation, Eric. Brohm doesn't usually play games like that, and just listening to his tone of voice and watching his facial expressions and his body language, and he talked about the scrimmage on late Saturday morning at Cardinal Stadium. He looked like he was genuinely disappointed that none of the guys, maybe on the second team or some of the guys moving up from reserve roles last year, really did anything to impress him. He did mention two people, Isaac Brown, a young running back, and Henderson, a defensive back. But other than that, I think he was really disappointed in the receivers and the tight ends. Which
I haven't watched the tight ends a bunch. I went to 4 or 5 of the open practices. I did watch the receivers, and I wasn't blown away by any of them. And of course, it's such a small sample, and you don't know what they're running and what they're trying to do. You're not sure what to make it of. The other thing it could be is that they are pretty good defensively, and they are supposed to be pretty good defensively. And that, you know, you always have that question, that tension in practice. I just go back to the days of covering John L. Smith, and I remember going out to practice, and I even found one of the headlines that was written at one point, and I asked, how were you? And he's like, we're stinky. We're not going to beat anybody if we keep playing like this. And, you know, by the time the next 2 or 3 weeks rolled around, they were up and they were ready to go, and they usually looked a lot better in the first game of the season, which was always then against Kentucky. I also wonder if just not having that big name early in the schedule might not make you as sharp.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to some of the schedules Kentucky's had the last few years, where you play the first couple games at home against teams you're going to be heavily favored to beat, starting with Austin Peay on August the 31st. But as a coach, you don't ever want that mindset to creep into your team, that you don't have to turn it on until you get to mid-September. And you want competition hot and heavy in practice all the time. And I heard there have been some fights, as there always are in football training camp, between offensive and defensive line, the guys trying to prove themselves. But I think he wants to throw the ball deep this year, and he wants some guys to really emerge on the offense as playmakers. That's what I took away from it.
Yeah, the only problem with the deep ball, and Jeff knows this better than we do. He knows everything football better than we know, but you can't force the deep game. And but again, if the opponents don't feel like it's a threat, they're going to sit on the short game, and you're never going to get to throw the deep ball. So it's tough. They're fortunate to have an experienced guy back there. I think Tyler Shook is pretty good. I think he's better than Jack Plummer was, but he needs some weapons. I came away from early practice thinking none of these receivers are as good as Jamari Thrash was last year. But
you're probably right.
They have more good receivers than they had a year ago.
You're right. Yeah, I think. You know, we've been spoiled here when you think back of some of the receivers we've seen at Louisville through the years, going back to, you know, Harry Douglas, Mario Urrutia, Ivan Green. We can go on and on.
You can catch every episode of Overtime on WDRB+.
Download the app on your phone or TV today.